My name is Kyle, owner of Pintler Group Digital Marketing here in town. We've been in business since 2015, worked with a lot of great companies here in Missoula, across the state and nationally. With me today is also Cade. Cade's our newest team member, new to Missoula, so he's been with us a couple months now, Cade? Yeah, so we're psyched to have him on board, managing a lot of our digital content, content marketing, social media management, and also a lot of our video and podcast production. So I think, our goal today, as a lot of you probably saw maybe in the email that Kristen and the Missoula Downtown had sent out, we really want to focus on, okay, if you only have an hour a week to focus on marketing, which it sounds like might be a really good metric here for this audience. If it's a little more, great. I think you'll have some really good takeaways. But if you truly do only have an hour a week, the goal today is to give you some really good takeaways that you could go back to your office and make some real adjustments heading into a busy November and December for a lot of you. Because a lot of these businesses, if I had to guess, November and December make up a very busy season. So excited to be here. So here's a few of the businesses that we work with currently here in Montana and nationally. Some you might recognize, some maybe not, but it sort of spans the board. We typically bill ourselves as the marketing firm for companies without marketing teams of their own. So we're often working with the quote-unquote jack of all trades of a company where, someone like Kristen, who, yes, she manages marketing, but she's also, booking bands for Roots Fest. And so we help sort of behind the scenes give some air support when it comes to, hey, we want to get people from Idaho to come to Roots Fest, or hey, out to lunch was a little slow last week. Let's put some gas down and get more people to attend. So we move pretty quickly based on our client needs. You'll also notice a lot of universities. That's where I got my start. I moved here in 2011 to work at the University of Montana in marketing, and really became one of the first digital marketing managers of any college in the country. So we were very early in sort of the digital marketing space. Here's a quick case study when we worked with the Clark Fork Coalition here in town, a great nonprofit. If you need a seat, I can move this one too. Yeah, thanks. A great nonprofit here in town. They wanted to raise awareness for the Smurfit Stone cleanup out by Frenchtown. In between here and Frenchtown, there's this large abandoned space that, if you weren't from Missoula or around when Smurfit Stone was in existence, you might not have known about it. So we produced some really cool videos. We did a podcast. This was kind of the full suite. We managed their social media, and with the sole purpose of our North Star metric was petition signatures to send to the EPA. So here's some more of our creative that we designed for them. But the end result, after I think it was 6 months of work, was we had 60,000 views on the 4 videos that we made, 500 plus petition signatures, 25% growth in web actions. So these were things like people filling out contact forms or calling. We basically just tracked every button click on the website. The conversion rate measured the number of people who landed on the petition to sign the petition, which was an incredible conversion rate for something like that. And then 10,000 podcast listens to a podcast that we produced. It was a 6-episode series that we produced so folks coming to town could learn about it. And we also promoted the podcast to the right audience. So this is sort of on one end, this is the bigger projects that we take on. But then, of course, for some of our clients, like Montgomery Distillery, we manage their Facebook advertising for tourists. That is our scope of work. So sometimes it's just something that simple that you want to take on or that our clients want to take on. And this is the last thing about Pintler Group, and then I'll jump in. But we also have a software in-house that we built called GeoFly. And what GeoFly allows people to do is to change and replace website content based on visitor location. So somebody visiting your website from Missoula would see something different than somebody visiting from Boise. We like to have our own project because we can test out a lot of the marketing things that maybe we're a little nervous to with our clients. But hey, let's take a shot and try this new Facebook inventory ad and see what result that has for GeoFly. But enough about us. Let's jump right into, if you only had 1 hour a week to manage marketing, this is the workshop for you. Hopefully by the end of this, that proves to be true. A couple of things that I wanted to run through today is how to build custom audiences in Meta or Facebook and Instagram. Email, I want to talk a little bit about email and how everybody here is using it, and I'm hoping this can be kind of conversational. So if you have questions, like throw something out, just blurt it out. No need to wait till the end. Quick to-do list for improving your Google search results, which in 2022 is becoming increasingly important as less people actually click on a link after a Google search result. They just either click to call or just get the information they need directly from that beautiful Google screen, which is great for the end user, but for businesses, they're slowly chipping away at website traffic. And then introduction to some of the favorite frameworks that we use as a team that you can definitely take back with you today. They're our favorites. We use them for huge projects. We use them for tiny projects. So I'm confident that they'll be really useful for you. So you have 1 hour a week, and these are all the different things you could be doing, which is probably where some of the anxiety or sort of frustration or why you're here exists, right? Like this comes from a marketing framework called Traction. It was created by the founder of DuckDuckGo, that search engine that owns, I think it's like 2% of market share, which actually ends up being worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But when he got started, he said, well, there's 19 things that any business, and this isn't just a technology startup, this could be a flower shop, this could be a quilting store, any business can do to get new customers or to get existing customers back into their stores. So as you're looking here, you might be thinking, oh yeah, I think we do some of these, and some of these are a little kind of stranger than others. Things like community building, that would be like commenting on forums and starting a community of your own, whether it's online or having meetups with evangelists or people that really love your business. Sales, these are things like direct sales. So if you only have an hour a week to manage marketing, some of these probably are already sort of off the table, right? You're probably not building like an engineering as marketing project to get new leads into your business. So what is the framework? Well, the framework says those 19 channels that we just saw, maybe as a team or during that hour, it's like, hey, let's evaluate which ones of those traction channels make sense for our business when it comes down to our business goal. So if your business goal during quarter 4 is we want to pass revenue from last year. That's kind of a lag measure, but what's the lead measure? Well, we want to increase store foot traffic this quarter. So what are the 1 or 2 highest potential channels out of all of these that might help get us there? You can also say, well, what are the 3 to 5 that we might want to test, and then pick the 1 or 2. So this is what it might look like for us. So when we're evaluating a new business, let's call it, let's talk about Betty's Divine. These are things that Betty's Divine could do, highlighted in orange, but maybe after conversations with them, these are the 3 or 4 that we decide we're going to spend some time on. And we'll talk about these today. So search engine marketing, these are Google ads, social and display ads, Facebook or Instagram ads, email marketing, which is often the lowest hanging fruit when we start with a new client. So today I want to spend some time on email marketing for sure, and community building. So this would be, they have really passionate fans. How do you take those people who have already become customers and help them become repeat customers, or have them buy in even more? Send them some VIP information that says, hey, we know that you've been shopping with us 10 times in the last year. We want to invite you to our end of the year holiday party. So first, let's talk social advertising. Anybody running Facebook ads right now? A little bit for the Glacial Ice Rink?
Yeah, mainly for events.
Events, yeah. What would be an example of an event that you'd run an ad for?
Spooky Skate.
Spooky Skate. When's that going down?
It's coming up on the 23rd.
Now we're talking. Okay, 23rd.
Exactly.
Cool. So that. Okay, awesome. So did you have that last year?
Yes.
Spooky Skate. Okay. Very cool. So let's talk about Spooky Skate. We'll use that as kind of our case study. So one of the things that Pintler Group often sees is that businesses have not yet created a business page, not a business page, but Facebook.com, or sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. I gotta go back. Let's start here. So this is Facebook Ads Library. This is kind of cool. If you haven't seen this before, it's relatively new. This allows you to go on here, and it's a little tough to see, but I think there's a search category here. So you can search ads. You can say, hey, in the United States, ad category, and I could search like ice rinks, and you'll see what ice rinks around the country are doing on Facebook ads or Instagram ads. And that's free. It's open to everybody. So if you go to that website today, you can get some inspiration from what other folks in your sector are doing, or outside of your sector, and just, if you want to see what your local politician is advertising, you can see that too, which I think is why this exists. But it's helpful for marketers. So here's an example, Monte Dolac Fine Art. I searched for Missoula art, and this was one of the ads that's currently running to the Missoula audience. You can see it started running on October 10th, which, is that yesterday? That's yesterday. And it's running on Facebook, Instagram, and that other logo is the Messenger. So, Monte Dolac Fine Art is running some ads, and maybe this is good to know. Maybe it's good to see, hey, what are they actually advertising? But I recommend checking out Facebook Ads Library. So this is business.facebook.com. I'm guessing everybody here has a business Facebook page. If not, it might be a good idea to create one. But if you do, this website will get you access to it will unlock some really cool advertising features for you if you haven't accessed that already. A lot of businesses we see will boost a post, so they'll go in and they'll boost a post, and Facebook makes it really easy to spend money, right? If you've advertised on Facebook, they're like, just put your credit card in, and we take care of the rest. That we take care of the rest part is like, we will charge you a lot. We'll make sure that you spend your maximum budget, and we'll show your ad everywhere, whether it's a great ad placement or not. So our first sort of recommendation is to create that business. So go here, and then you'll want to create an account. Even though you have a business page, this will get you access and unlock a lot of the features that we'll talk about in the next 4 slides. So here's one that we often start with, and this is day 1 of Pintler Group training, is when you're creating a social ad or something on Facebook. So we'll use Spookyscape as an example. They probably say, hey, you can show your ad everywhere. The different platforms are Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger. We can save you some time and let you know that when we've launched on Messenger and Audience Network, it gets a lot of impressions, so a lot of people see it. It may even get a lot of clicks, whether they're purposeful or not, whether they're accidental, that's to be determined. But when we start to measure that third column, which is event RSVPs, based on these placements, Audience Network and Messenger are often the most expensive forms of advertising when we actually want to measure, did this result in an action that we wanted our user to take, like signing up for Spookyscape. Yeah.
What's the Audience Network?
Yeah, so Facebook owns a bunch of different websites, things like the Huffington Post. And so you might be on the Huffington Post and you might see a Facebook ad. That's the Audience Network. It's the equivalent in Google of display ads. So if you're on Missoulian and you see a pop-up ad for, Fidelity Life Insurance, I don't even know if they sell life insurance, Fidelity Investment, that's a display ad. That's kind of the Audience Network. So first tip here, if and when you're running Facebook ads or Instagram ads, if you only have a limited budget, skip the Audience Network and skip the Messenger. Stick with Facebook and Instagram. And you could even check this box, all devices, and if it's something where, if it's something like Radius Art Gallery, it might make sense that you want people viewing that art on a desktop. So you remove mobile. It's what's the experience like if I'm looking at a $5,000 piece of art on a mobile phone versus a nice big monitor? It might be different. So think about what your end user wants to do, and if it makes sense to exclude mobile. So let's talk custom audience targeting. This is where you may already use these, which is great. I'd love to hear your success with them. We think about this like that classic marketing funnel. you have your top of the funnel, people who don't know about your business, don't know you exist, but you want to inform them about it. People who have never heard of Spooky Skate, never even been to Glacial Ice Rink, but you want them to know, hey, this is an event that goes on that might be kind of educational. Then there's middle funnel, people who maybe have been to Glacial Ice Rink before, but haven't actually attended this event because it happened last year. They didn't go for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't know it existed, but they're familiar with your company. That's when we talk about middle funnel. And then bottom funnel would be people that attended last year. They know it. They had a great time, hopefully. It sounds like a pretty fun time, so I'm sure they did. So in this case, again, this is in your Facebook business account when you unlock those ad features through business.facebook.com. So you can do things like anyone who has visited your Facebook page or taken an action on a post or an ad. So this could be middle funnel. So this would be people who currently like or follow your page. So you can spend some money. If let's say you only have $100, it's like, where do you want to spend it? Well, whenever we start with a client, we want to make sure that if our goal is event RSVPs, we're starting it where we can get the most wins earliest, which is typically bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel. And then if your goal is, well, okay, we have a little bit extra money to spend on this marketing, well, then let's go Missoula wide. Here's another. This would be really relevant for Spooky Skate, or if you're having an event at your business. And this is one of our favorite audiences for folks like Montgomery Distillery, Boy Scouts of Montana, Missoula Downtown certainly. We can say people who responded going or interested to your event, and this is true, and you can say things like in the last 365 days. So people who have attended one of the events that your business has put on in the last year. So you can imagine for Missoula Downtown, this is extremely useful when we're doing out to lunch or downtown tonight. We just schedule this out all summer long so that 24 hours before Missoula Downtown, Kristen would get us, hey, here's the information, here's all the dates, and if there was a cool band, we'd know that, and we scheduled that for the entire summer. Pretty small budget that we put out. It was, I think, maybe 10 or 20 bucks a day, but just to get more people downtown every Thursday and every Wednesday around lunchtime. So really cool audiences. As you're looking at this, hopefully you're thinking, oh, we've had events on Facebook that people have RSVP'd to, and that's your low-hanging fruit. Like that, to me, is if you have $100 to spend on marketing and an hour a week to spend, like start with these audiences. So let's talk pixels. I know this might be a little in the weeds for a 1 hour a week marketer who is doing 100 other things. I want to include it because I think it's that important. So pixels to us are kind of the superpower of marketing and really separate the businesses that are doing A+ on their marketing versus like a B or just kind of getting by. Facebook pixels. So again, this is through that business manager. You can set this up. Let's see. So this is the pixel, and we might need a sidebar. So if you're like, okay, I want to have a pixel on my website, it might take longer than an hour. Just reach out to, I think Kristen, my email will be on the thing. Reach out to us and we can help get this set up because it is a bit of a bear. But once you do this, you can do things like people who have been to my website but haven't RSVP'd for the event. People who have been to my website but haven't purchased. So you've seen this before when you go to a website, you add something to your cart, your dog barks, you have to let it out, and then you come and you kind of forget about that thing in your cart. Hey, and then you see that on Instagram, like, oh yeah, I was gonna buy those skis, and the snow might start falling soon. So Facebook pixels, important, but maybe a little bit longer than an hour, but I just want to include it. And I think this is my last slide on Facebook, but this is a really neat audience, specifically this one for Q4, heading into the busy season. People whose most recent location is within the selected area, so let's just pretend that's Missoula, but whose home is more than 125 miles away. So what audience is this targeting? Yeah, right. So people who are visiting Missoula. This is an audience that we use a lot with a lot of our downtown clients. It's just one you can almost set it and then say, okay, this is the message that we want to show to tourists. They might only be here for a weekend, they might be here for a conference, but we want them to know that if they're looking for coffee, before you search for Starbucks, like swing by Bernice's Bakery. And it's, in some seasons, it might spend $10 a week. That's the nice part about Facebook is you don't have to spend, there's no minimum ad spend. You don't have to say, oh, I have to spend $1,000. Things like Spotify, there's a minimum. It's like $500 a month you have to spend. Hulu, I think, is even more. It's a couple $1,000s a month if you want to advertise on Hulu. So Facebook, for all of its flaws, it is a great marketing platform because you can say our budget is $10 a week and we want to reach the bottom funnel who are out of state, and you can do that. Questions on social ads? Does it feel like that's going to take longer than an hour a week? Okay, I'm seeing like heads kind of no. Okay, that's good. Good. So we're keeping our promise so far. So a quick introduction to, and how are we looking on time? Because I want to get questions too. Okay, cool. Growth marketing for pirates: acquisition, activation, retention, referral, revenue, or R is the pirate. So this comes from 500 startups. You've probably seen this before. I mentioned it earlier. Kind of like the funnel. But we really like this one because it illustrates just how many different options there are. So acquisition, getting somebody new to your business who's never heard of it before. So Bitterroot Flowers, like if you're thinking, okay, like a lot of people in Missoula know about us, but are there ways to address the audience that maybe haven't? And that's in the acquisition stage. First-time customers, first-time visitors to your business. And then the activation stage. And this is where a lot of businesses that we start with actually we see need the most improvement, but want to talk about the least. So they want to talk all about how do we get the new customers to our website, leaving out, hey, actually once you've done that hard work and spent all that money getting a customer to your business or getting them to your website or getting them to sign up for your event, like what next? Or what does your homepage look like? How are you engaging them? So we spend a lot of time looking at this stage, the acquisition stage. There's a metric by HubSpot, which is a CRM, that says about 90 to 95% of marketing dollars are spent in the acquisition stage. Getting new visitors, whereas only about 5% are spent on the rest of these. So, and this could be as simple as like, what does our form look like when we want someone to order online, or when we have if we sell flowers online, how simple is it to put together a bouquet, or how simple is and just kind of measuring something very simple from landing page visitor to success screen. And by success screen, I mean whether they registered for an event or purchased a product or like scheduled a meeting, that's your success screen. And what does that look like? For every 100 visitors, how many make it to that success screen? If it's more brick and mortar, it might be something like, let's just for 2 hours measure how many people walk through the door, and then let's measure what percentage of them actually bought something in our store. And okay, maybe it's 20%. So 2 out of every 10 people that walk in purchase something. And maybe as a team we're like, what are some ways that we could address this stage? So we've done the hard work, they're in our store. What are some ways that we could get that number to 3 out of 10? And that might make a really big difference. Does anybody know, like on average, what percentage of people that walk into a brick and mortar store walk out purchasing something? That'd be an interesting metric to know. If you had to guess on e-commerce, so we work with a clothing company, on average, if they get 100 website visitors to their site, how many of them purchase from their website? And this is hoodies, sweatshirts, hats. 25. Any other guesses?
15. I guess a lot lower, because e-commerce would have a lot of, would have really high traffic, right? So it'd probably be I guess maybe 5 out of every 100.
Yeah, if you're doing 5%, your website is rocking. It's doing awesome. So it's really closer to 2 to 3% of website visitors. On a website like that, where your average order value is about $50, it's about 3%. And then those businesses that start at 1% and move up to 3%, nothing else happens in that acquisition stage. It's the same amount of traffic, but you improve your landing page experience. You improve, maybe there's a a sale for first-time visitors, it moves the needle on revenue really quickly. Retention is another one that we spend a lot of time with, which a lot of times reluctantly our clients let us do, but this is where email automation comes into play. This is where last year's visitors, it's fun to advertise, hey, we're doing this really cool ice rink event, but what about just email, and you've probably done this, but what about emailing last year's attendees? Or if you didn't collect their emails this year, thinking, maybe we should collect emails from folks some way, somehow, so that next year when we have this, we can get 100 signups day one that we know attended the event last year. And you can do this in a really elegant way. I'm sure that folks have signed up for email, and now they're like, every Sunday they're cleaning out their email inbox, like unsubscribing from newsletters. The goal is not to get unsubscribed to, so you want to provide some value and make sure that if you're on the email, it kind of feels like a community, which is hard to do, but achievable. And then referral, this would be finding out who your biggest fans are. So a lot of the businesses in this room have really big fans, evangelists. The wrong termination is use them to your advantage, but also empower them to be your street team. If you're a band and you have people that love your music, the best sort of marketing brands in the world and bands in the world use those fans to go recruit new fans. So how can you do that? Well, there's different ways. The best example is kind of on the software side. Does anybody remember the first time they rode Uber or Lyft? What was that experience like? And do you remember sort of how it got onto your phone? Uber, the very first time you took an Uber?
The very first time I took Uber was
a little while ago. Yeah.
I was traveling.
Traveling.
Sure.
Okay. And you just knew to look up Uber?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have 4 sisters who are very hip, and they were like, "You don't have Uber."
You got to download Uber.
I was like,
Were you?
Don't have Uber.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And they were like, "Well, you're done."
Were you with it?
That's how it evolved.
Were you with them when you were traveling?
I mean.
Maybe. Okay. It could have been.
I feel like it was a marketing thing too, because at the beginning of Uber, you got free rides for your first, couple rides or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why I used it initially.
In Missoula.
Like 10% off or something.
Yeah.
I remember that too.
Yeah, they landed in Missoula and did a big splash, right? Like, hey, if you're in Missoula, it's 5 rides. So they get you to download the app if you haven't already. Often what I'll hear is that somebody downloaded the app when they were sort of standing next to somebody. Like, what was your name?
Maddie.
Maddie. So it's like, hey, Maddie, you don't use Uber. Here, use my code, and then you get a free ride and I get a free ride. So I'm incentivized to tell Maddie all about this Uber ride. And that's a give to get. So, it may not make sense for all the businesses in this room, but thinking about how to take your biggest fans and say hey, we know you're in here all the time. This one's on us. Here's some, VIP coupons to hand out to your friends. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I'm just thinking about ways to use this referral. So one of the first things we'll do is we'll help remove layers of uncertainty for businesses. So we'll start and we'll say, they might have a lot of assumptions about their business, many of which are true, and many of which we can help uncover with just some simple analytics. But what's going on in this case if the business is experiencing this? And this might resonate with some of you using this framework. And red is bad, green is good. So they're doing a good job of what?
People.
Once they're on the site, this is back to the e-commerce. Maybe they have a 5% e-commerce conversion rate.
You're doing a good job keeping people, but not necessarily getting new people.
Yeah, exactly. So once someone's in your store, they're purchasing, but you just need more people to come into your store. Once they try your product, once they try your baked good, they freaking love it, right? But you need more people to try your product. So that tells me that, okay, this company should focus more on that acquisition stage, getting more people into the top of the funnel, introducing your product to Missoulians who don't know you exist. What's going on here? They're doing a good job of what?
Getting customers, but not necessarily keeping them.
Yeah, they're getting a great job. Their store is flooded with people, and at the end of the day, they're like, oh, we made 5 sales. Or their website gets a ton of website traffic, but at the end of the day, they're not making any sales. here would be an example. Okay, we're getting a good job. People are coming in. They're loving our product in the activation stage. They've tried it. They love it. But then they're never coming back. Why? Why aren't they coming? Why? We never have a repeat order. And this can actually be a really bad sign for a business where, think about all the subscription businesses in the world. I'm sure you're like, oh yeah, I've got to cancel that one now that Kyle mentions it. But the best ones in the world, they onboard 100 new people. 100 people are paying a monthly subscription. But then at the end of the day, there's maybe 50 that stay subscribed, which is great. That business is sustainable. They've reached product market fit. But the ones where you subscribe for a month and then cancel a month later, that is not sustainable. So if you have a business where you're getting a lot of people but they're never coming back, that's something that definitely should be addressed through the retention stage. And then this business, if you're thinking, oh man, I feel like this is me, you're probably not alone, because there's a lot of things you could be doing. But again, if you only have 1 hour a week, like maybe start with one. And maybe it's the acquisition stage, because you need customers. So get customers. Okay, so that's our second and final framework / lecture that I want to give today about the frameworks that we use. So let's talk email. What do you think is the average email opt-in rate across the internet? So of people that visit a website with like a subscribe here, what percentage of them are subscribing to your newsletter? 90%. 9 out of 10 to come to your website and purchase. 2%. Yeah, it's about 2%. Oh yeah, okay. It's
I feel like I get pushed to put my email on every.
Oh yeah. That's probably true. Yeah, 90% of businesses try to get you to subscribe. There's elegant ways of like asking for your email, and we always recommend to give a reason why they're giving your email. If you're like, hey, submit your email to sign up for a newsletter, I'm like, well, that doesn't sound too exciting. But if it's submit your email to get, 50% off your first baked good, or to sign up for exclusive events, well, that sounds a little better. The average open rate for emails, so if once you have somebody subscribed and you send an email out to 100 people, what percentage of them are actually opening? In this, what is it?
I would say
2%? You can think in your head, okay, I think it's higher or lower than 2%. It's actually close to like 18 to 23%. And this comes from smartinsights.com, and that's, of course, also depending on vertical or your industry. So great, you have emails. Now, what are some ways that people have been successful getting emails?
When people buy from us, we ask for it.
Yeah, just ask for it. Yeah.
Really much with it.
Okay. And that's, do you ask for it on pen and paper, on an iPad? How does that work?
No, basically, if you're on the phone and you take the order, you're like, oh, do you want me to send a receipt by email?
Got it.
Of delivery, so we get it that way. And then also when people buy from our web store, we get it there.
You've got a bunch of emails in your web store.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I purchase in person?
In person, sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Yeah.
And you ask for it in person sometimes?
We do. If
Yeah.
we're placing an order for delivery, we'll get it. If
Got
we're
it.
just like coming in and buying a bouquet, I'm not going to do that. But
Sure.
I've not done that.
Okay.
You bombard us with the pop-up.
On the website? What's the website, or what's the business again?
So I'm a nonprofit. It's a Summit Independent Living and Disability.
Got it. Okay, so there's a pop-up on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even when I go on, I'm like, okay, I already signed up.
Yeah.
I work here.
Right. It's like, how do you maybe filter that for people who have been there? What were you going to say?
We have like a really old system, but we have like a weekly drawing where someone will get like half off their next purchase if they win it, and people just put their emails on that as like a good way to contact them. So,
And what was the business again?
Hide and Soul.
Hide and Soul. And so how do the emails get onto that? How do they get alerted of that? When they purchase, you get their email?
Like a box at the counter that they like sign up for, and they just drop a little paper in a box.
Oh, okay. So it's like giveaway, contest.
Pretty much. It's
Cool.
got, like email, phone number, things to fill out.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, contests are sometimes a really good way. Especially if they're in your store. I've seen where it's like an online ad, like sign up for a $500 Amazon gift card, and I want the gift card, but I don't necessarily want whatever the company is.
Yeah, it's a little bit better if it's like an incentive, right?
Yeah, and they've already entered your store, so well, they took the effort to come into my store. Certainly platforms like Square, Shopify, these services have ways to collect email when somebody checks out. So those are really good examples. This is one that we used with a real estate firm where we had emails, so now what? You can see these bottom stats. Like segmented email have an open rate of 14% higher than non-segmented campaigns. And click-through rates are 101% higher. I guess that 1% was really important to add. Higher in segmented email campaigns than non-segmented campaigns. And both those stats come from MailChimp. And when we say segmented, I think when you're thinking about email and you're thinking, oh, I only have an hour a week, I've got this list of 14,000 people, I'm going to send an email to 14,000 people, we would say just pump the brakes for just a minute and see if it makes sense to segment, because often it does. Customers versus people whose emails you have but have never purchased. And we see this a lot in e-commerce where you should really treat the people who have purchased from your business in e-commerce different than those who have not, and maybe provide different incentives or subscribe them to different automations. So this was a form, and a lot of times this happens right when you collect the email. So maybe it's at Hide and Soul, and this is just an idea, but when you have those giveaways, it's like, hey, have you purchased from us before? Enter this giveaway. If you haven't, enter this giveaway. So you can, at the very onset, know, okay, who is our customers and who are not. You sort of have to trust that the customers will tell the truth there. But when we're submitting forms, whenever we set up a form on a client website, we always begin with the end in mind. So how are we going to use the information on these form fields to inform our marketing later? In this case, we want to know who are the first-time home buyers and who are out-of-state home buyers, and sometimes it's both, right, which is fine. And then we just tag them. So whenever we upload them, it just becomes an Excel sheet with a new column, and it's first-time home buyer, yes or no, Y or N. Out-of-state, yes or no. Or maybe it's just based on their address, we filter them by. And it could be something as simple as this, but we always recommend before you hit send on the entire email list, think about ways, is it possible to segment this even a little bit, even once? People get really caught up with this too, and 1 hour becomes 10 hours of email marketing when, well, if they've purchased, but they've purchased only from this side of the store and not this side of the store. If you don't have a full-time marketing team, you probably don't have time to do that, and really the only takeaway I would say is just segment once, if that makes sense. Sometimes email makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. So important questions to ask with your team are like, why do we want more emails? A lot of times people are like, yeah, we want to just grow our email list. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about why. I'm like, isn't that something we should do? It's like, well, maybe. Maybe it makes sense, but maybe it doesn't. Setting up your email marketing account. MailChimp, do folks use MailChimp here? Any other platforms? Yeah, there's a lot out there now. Klaviyo, Constant Contact, yep, that's a good one. We've used MailerLite before, which was cool. Is that what you guys use? Yeah. Do you like that? MailerLite?
I don't really have anything to compare.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I was impressed, and it's certainly affordable. These other platforms keep raising their prices, like MailChimp every other year. I'm like, what the heck? So let's talk about getting those emails. You mentioned Bitterroot Flower Shop. We've got all these emails, and you are not alone. You have all of these great emails. You know that, okay, there's stuff we could be doing here. The first step is maybe to understand, well, how many is that? And let's put them into a way where we can communicate them. So exporting existing customers is something we always recommend, of course. Then what's cool is this is actually back to Facebook. You can upload that customer list. So let's use Bitterroot Flowers as an example. So Bitterroot Flowers exports their customers from the last 5 years, and they say, wow, we have 100,000 customers over the last 5 years. Now, what do we do with that list? Well, in Facebook, you can actually, if it's in MailChimp, you can just log into MailChimp, upload those emails automatically with the click of a button, and then you can say, we want to show Instagram messages to all of those emails that are associated with a Facebook account. So that's a really powerful tool. You can also do something called a lookalike audience, which takes all of your customer emails on the left-hand side, matches them with individuals on Facebook. So if I log in with my email to Facebook and the email that I've given you, this is a customer match and says, okay, here's the people that we could serve advertisements to who are bottom of the funnel. But you can also create what's called a lookalike audience, which says we're going to find people in Missoula that have a lot of the same characteristics as the individuals on your email list, but are not on your email list. So this is a really powerful top of funnel ad campaign.
So like they're using the email addresses you provide them, finding that person on Facebook that is associated with that email list, and then serving you as people that like the same things on Facebook or.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So creepy. But cool.
Yeah.
But really creepy.
Yeah. That is.
I'm gonna use it, but it's creepy.
Yeah. And that's something that we hear, quite a bit. It's like, boy, this stuff, you can get really targeted to a way that becomes kind of annoying. And a lot of these platforms are getting kind of annoying, where it's like, wow, for every one organic post, there's 2 ads. And we always come back to if it's relevant to your customers. So if you are exporting the customer email list and providing them something where they're incentivized to click or they're incentivized to at least be interested in what you're talking about, if it's the ice rink. Like if I attended the event last year and you upload my email and I get an Instagram ad that says Spooky Skate is back this year, I'm kind of delighted that I got that message. I'm like, oh yeah, I loved that last year. So if done correctly, it can be, elegant might be the wrong word, but it can be at least relevant and not intrusive. I've seen like cat food ads, and I'm like, I don't own a cat. This is the wrong target, I like cats, I just don't own one. So that to me is lazy marketing. Another example of custom audiences and ads, you can upload these into Google or YouTube and show ads to existing emails as well. So let's get into some of our favorite tools. I'll take 3 minutes and go through this, and then we can open up some questions or discussion. So trends.google.com, this is really neat. This will tell you like overall search volume based on a specific keyword seasonally. So, and you can use this in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's just fun. For example, scented candles, searches for scented candles always peaks in December. That might be obvious to a lot of folks. I was kind of interested. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Can you target it to your area?
You can, yeah. Often what I find is Montana, there's just not enough data, so I expand it a bit. So Google, they give you this good data, but they don't let you drill down too far.
You could put in like different keywords that you're thinking about and see.
Yeah, so here's another example, like craft beer. Overall it seems like in 2016, thirst for craft beer was at an all-time high, and it's since like kind of dipped. Which I can actually, thinking back, I'm like, oh yeah, there was, But Missoula, it's probably just doing this, Hard cider. So every year in October, like if I were a brewery or the dram shop or something, I might want to know that, okay, searches for hard cider peak in October, and then there's a steep cliff heading into December. So let's lean heavily into hard cider in September and October. I don't know why. I must have been thirsty when I was making this or something. So google.com/business, I'm guessing a lot of you have this. If you haven't checked it in a while, there's a lot of new features. Things like, and this might be not a feature you want to turn on, but we did, and have actually gotten a couple questions and answers. So ask questions. People can ask your business questions. If you haven't turned that on, it's kind of nice. You can add posts that used to disappear, but now they just stay. So at Pintler Group, we call this screen real estate. Someone searches your business in Google. They search your brand name. What is the experience that they get? You really want this experience to be a 10 out of 10, and that's maybe goes without saying. Reviews. So if you only have one review, but you have thousands of customers, maybe not Q4, but maybe January, February, things slow down a little bit. Set a goal. Hey, we want to get 20 reviews, 20 5-star reviews on Google. Or if you're at 300, we want to get to 500.
Do you have to pay on Google, like on your business profile, to do the posts?
You don't. Nope.
Oh.
It's just free. Yep. So if you have videos, you can attach images, you can attach and audit those things, because you might think, oh, we have images, but if you haven't updated them in a while, it's kind of incredible when we get the stats, because Google will send you stats on how many people just saw this. This this profile had, X amount of views. And we get this data on all of our clients, and I'm always shocked at the total number of people that view this page on Google, and then this is as far as they get, because they might see it and say, oh yeah, what are the hours of Bernice's Bakery again? Okay, and then, or they're searching like bakeries in Missoula, and Bernice's is one of the top results, and it has 400 reviews. Like, well, I'm definitely going there, And again, that's just google.com/business. You might often we see like, oh geez, what email did we use to log into that? Was it like info@once upon a time? And it's worth the headache to get through to the other side and update. Google Analytics, so this might be if you have 2 hours a week to spend on marketing, jump into Google Analytics and get some insights. This is one of our favorite screens, and for those in the back that can't see this, and for me that don't have my glasses on, it lists all the different sources of traffic, where your traffic's coming from. Then what's really important for us are a couple things, so not necessarily every column, but these two specifically. So this tells us bounce rate, what percentage of people visiting from, an email campaign. So here's email, 22,000 users from email. The bounce rate is 48%, which might not tell us much, but the e-commerce conversion rate, and this specific e-commerce client has a lower e-commerce conversion rate than 3%, but because their items are a bit higher priced. So from email, it's 0.91% compared to Google search, which is 0.34. So immediately we're thinking as a team, like, well, okay, if we had to spend money to get people, if we're going to spend marketing dollars to get people to our website, let's spend it gathering emails, because those customers are the highest quality. They come to our website and they just convert higher than if we're running Facebook ads and people come to our website. So let's spend our limited resources and time into growing our email list. And then last but not least is SparkToro. This is a free tool. They put up a bunch of like freemium things, so you can do like 2 searches for your business. It's always kind of interesting. My audience frequently talks about real estate and is located in Montana. Search, it'll give you like what websites they visit, what podcasts they listen to, and it's a free, interesting tool. But again, you'll search it twice, and then they'll be like, for $50 a month, you can do, but you get the 2 free searches.